This is Iris Martinez, an interviewer for the Iowa State University Special Collections and University Archives Voices of a Pandemic Oral History Project. Today is Monday, June 14th, 2021. I am interviewing Pat Ferrusca from Ames, Iowa, while he is in Des Moines, Iowa. Please note, Pat, that this interview will be placed in the Iowa State University Library and shared with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. If there's anything you do not wish to answer or talk about, I will honor your wishes. Also, if there's something you want to talk about, please bring it up and we'll talk about it.
Sounds good.
Okay, because we are not conducting this interview in person, I need to record your consenting to a few questions. So I'll ask you a series of 5 questions. Please say yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree after each one. There are 2 questions we need to make sure you agree to before we go on. Voces wishes to archive your interview along with any other photo documentation at the Parks Library at Iowa State University. We will retain copyright of the interview and any other materials you donate to Voces. So first question, do you give Voces consent to archive your interview and your materials at the Parks Library?
I do.
Okay. Second question, do you grant Voces copyright over the interview and any material you provide?
Yes.
Okay. And the third question, do you agree to allow us to post this interview on the internet where it may be viewed by people around the world?
Yeah.
Okay. We have many questions in a pre-interview form that we have already filled out. We use that information from the pre-interview form to help in research. The entire form is kept in a secure Voces server before we send it to Parks Library. We would have stripped out any contact information for yourself or your family members, so that will not be a part of your public file. Your public file will only be accessible at the Parks Library. Do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview in your public file available to the researchers at the Parks Library?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. And on occasion, Voces receives requests from journalists who wish to contact our interview subjects. We only deal with legitimate news outlets. Do you give consent for us to share your phone number or your email with journalists?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So we're just going to start off basically talking about your COVID experience. So can you tell me a little bit about your COVID experience?
So my COVID experience. Okay, yeah, so it was in 2020. The beginning of 2020 is when it popped up, right? Let's see. Well, first thing is I was working. It affected my work, first of all. So that's like number one thing is that I noticed above all is just it affected my income specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Just not as many. A lot of my clients were being laid off, and it just wasn't good. Work wise, it was pretty rough for quite a while. It got to the point where about halfway through 2020, I quit my job because it just wasn't making income. I tried toughing out COVID, but it just kept lingering on, and it's pretty much my experience. I just was kind of scrambling around trying to pay my bills, and other than that, there was a lot of downtime. Not as much work was coming through, so there was a good few months where I was just kind of just lost. Like, what do I do next? So that's my experience with it.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely the definition for COVID is scrambling around.
Yeah, I feel it.
So how did you first learn about COVID-19?
At first it was first time I heard about it. It probably was media, just media. Probably like a social media post or the news just kind of popped up, and then it just kept being more consistent. So it got to a point where I was just like, okay, so this is a thing now. Like they're shutting down actual businesses. There's actual restrictions. You can't, you have to put a mask on. I think when you had to put a mask on is when I was like, oh crap, okay, this is really happening. So that's when I first really noticed it in full effect. So probably 3 months into 2020 is when things started shutting down, and that's when I noticed it, that it was a real thing, and it was on a large scale.
Yeah. So, what was your first initial reaction to when it started getting real, or information you got about COVID-19?
So initial reaction, I was just like, okay, we're kind of taking it too far, right? Putting the whole mask in, going into to stores, or just kind of shutting down a bunch of businesses that I know I would visit, so like restaurants and stuff. And yeah, yeah, that. Can you repeat your question?
No, it was kind of, I was just like your initial reaction, kind of like what everybody
Yeah,
is like, it's no big deal, it'll pass, kind of thing.
yeah, that's what I thought. I think a lot of us did as well. It's like, oh, it'll pass. It's one of those things. But no, I mean, here we are almost 2 years later, it's still lingering on.
Yep.
So, yeah, kind of took us all by surprise, I think.
Yeah. So, at what point or how did you realize that this was serious, or do you not think it's serious yet?
Yeah, I definitely think it's serious for sure. The point I realized it was serious is my job, right? My job. I worked in sales at that time, and just it wasn't even on my side. It was more on my client's side, right? They would tell me like, "Hey, listen, I'm being laid off." It was an actual conversation,
Yeah.
a consistent one that blew up out of nowhere. Just like, "Oh wow, okay, well, why are they all losing their jobs? Like, what's going on, right?" And so my income went down, and yeah, that's when it was. That's when it was. Like I saw it personally in like a real tangible form.
Hmm.
Something popped up at work that never really pops up. It's a thing, but not on this scale. It was a consistent thing, and just that. I
Yeah.
think that's where.
Yeah. So, talking about you, how has COVID impacted you personally or your family members?
I think personally, um, just from a health standpoint, yeah, just from a health standpoint, I've noticed when COVID first came around, like gyms weren't open. I couldn't go to the rec and play soccer or be active the way I wanted to.
Mm.
Um, so that was the first concern. It's just like I'm really starting to put on some weight. I got to do something about it, but I can't go to the traditional way of going to the gym or going doing something where it's a populated place.
Yeah.
So yeah, personally, that was a struggle for sure. I know a lot of us felt that just
Yeah, for
the
sure.
COVID weight. So
Definitely. So what about your family members? How were they impacted, or even family members that don't live inside the United States?
my parents, they're older, you know, um,
Hmm.
like 50s, 60s, they're a little older. They were concerned. They were concerned coming down with it. They listened to the symptoms. They watched the news. They're like, "Oh gosh, we don't got the strongest lungs, right?" So yeah, they were kind of scared to the point where like even if I went over to the home and they're like, "Hey, if you're gonna go out, don't come back. Just come back like just yeah, yeah, things like that."
Yeah.
Um, Other than that, I guess I never really like touched base with them. Just that really.
Yeah.
Just it was always a concern. Like, are we gonna get it?
Yeah. Yeah. So were you a part of any organizations?
Uh,
Like, I know you said you're like in soccer. Was that canceled for any reason?
Yeah, yeah. So playing soccer on the like rec league, Sunday league, all that got canceled. The seasons, I think, for the entire year. So yeah, yeah. I was that definitely affected the organizations
Yeah.
I was in.
So how was going out into the world during COVID be different from pre-COVID? Like, let's say, let's put ourselves at the beginning of COVID and then right before COVID.
So before COVID, just everyday normal thing. You go out and about, just people are nearby. Don't really think about it. It's just another day. Yeah, yeah. It's just normal day things, but after COVID, when it started popping up, I feel like people started being more like, how do I say it, like self-conscious in a way, or like self-aware. Be like, hey, listen, even little things like I heard you cough, just kind of, just kind of stay over there a little bit. Just, little things like that, just kind of human interaction change for sure.
It did for
Is
sure.
what I think.
Yeah, I agree. So, how, if at all, has COVID impacted your ability to gather with your family and friends for like important events? Like last year, I know everything was canceled, graduations, weddings were put off, and everything. Did that impact you?
It did, it did. So I have a close knit family. We always have family gatherings,
Mm.
and I mean, honestly, they didn't really care. They were just like, "Oh, we're good. Let's hang out." but until someone was actually sick for my family, right? They didn't have COVID, they were just sick. And yeah, it kind of ruined the whole outing, and it's never happened. A person wanted to come to our family outing, and we were just like, hey, listen, you're sick. You kind of have the symptoms. It's better you kind of stay over there, right? And
Yeah.
like, that's kind of a tough thing, telling your
Yeah.
family member not to come. But yeah, that. So it did. They're affected.
Yeah. So who did you interact with when I know things are starting to loosen up and everything right now? So who were you like your go-to people when COVID was really up and running? Like who would you interact with?
Um, I mean, just family members, and then just a close friend. I feel like a lot of us have friends or acquaintances that you go out and then you hang out with them for whatever reason. Maybe you're on a soccer team together, or maybe you guys go out and drink on the weekends. I feel like all those people just kind of, you know, just kind of not went away, but were kind of dormant. That relationship was dormant for a while. So it was just like your immediate family members for me, or like my really close friends that I knew like were pretty healthy for the most part.
Yeah.
Just a small circle in general, small circle.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. A lot of relationships went dormant during that period.
Yeah.
So, how about wearing a mask? How do you feel about that? Or how did you feel about that? I know the restrictions have been lifted here in Iowa, but how do you go about that now?
So, well, how I go about it now, um, yeah, I don't really wear a mask uh, unless someone tells me to wear a mask. I went to the movie theaters a couple weeks ago. Yeah, about a month ago, and it was when the no mask thing just got into play. I went with no mask, and they told me to put one on. And I mean, yeah, normally, or at the very beginning, I was kind of frustrated, right? I felt like it was literally one of my rights getting
Yeah.
taken away, right? You're telling me I can't go and do what I got to do without wearing a mask. I felt kind of violated in my rights in that point. But after a while, I started to understand,
Yeah.
people actually die from it. People actually get sick from it. I don't want to be the reason people spread it and actually like have severe consequences from it. So after a while, just eased off it, just kind of abided, just, let's let this pass. And yeah, nowadays, yeah, no mask really, unless I need to. I'll still carry one around, but for the most part, I'd say, yeah, it loosened up.
Yeah, I think once the COVID restrictions were lifted here in Iowa, like nobody wears masks. I rarely see people wearing a mask now, unless it's like elderly people or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So, education wise, how has COVID changed the way you or your family or your community receive education?
For the community, uh, I think it was really rough adapting for them. I mean, I don't know from personal experience, but I could sympathize with them. And just like, I think about like, dang, imagine being a teacher, a fresh, brand new teacher, first year on the job, and them telling you, hey, we got to take out the interaction, the you person to person building a connection. It's got to be over a screen. So I think that was really hard to adapt, not only for teachers but for students, right? But as far as personal education, honestly, I feel like I learned a lot. I had a lot of downtime, and
Mm.
I just, self educating was a huge thing. Um, you get so bored to the point you just kind of start looking around, you start learning, and yeah. So it goes both ways. Goes both ways.
Yeah, so did you start any like anything new, like your own education? Was it disrupted at all as a result of COVID, like online or anything?
Yeah. So it was actually a really good opportunity. We had all this downtime. I know I did, and I started looking for other opportunities. I said my job wasn't working out, so I knew I had to find a way out. And then, given all the time I had, I was able to like kind of establish a game plan, get back on my feet,
Mm-hmm.
and then just get after it. So yeah, it gave me the time to do that. It did. I
Yeah.
remember just sitting down and just hammering it out. Like, what do I want to do next? Right. So
So it was like give you time to get a game plan out there.
yeah, like on a comfortable level. I wasn't stressing about much
Yeah.
because not much was going on. So
Okay. So let's move into some healthcare questions. What kind of concerns or questions about healthcare have you thought of as a result of COVID that are new, maybe that you didn't think about before COVID?
it's just kind of like a long term thought. Just you know, uh, like a cause and effect because this is happening. What's gonna happen later on,
Mm.
right? It's just like as we look back on COVID, like, oh gosh, you remember back in 2020, just once we get to that point, like what are the true effects that are really gonna stick around.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, that's a concern for me, especially with like the new shots coming out and stuff. I feel like there wasn't much time to really kind of see how it plays out. So that's concerning.
Yeah.
That's concerning for sure.
So is it changing the way you're doing or getting healthcare?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. I'm more self-aware of what like I want to put into my body, or like um,
That way you can avoid getting sick, right? In the
yeah, avoiding, yeah, yeah, pretty much that, or just kind of trying to be healthier, just so I don't get sick in a way. Just kind of, I think it really emphasized to everyone like, hey, you gotta like, kind of take care of yourself a little bit more than usual. So,
for sure. So during the COVID year and continuing, have you had any mental health impacts or challenges?
uh, I mean, not necessarily. Just kind of the isolation part. I know I have some buddies that were, very social. They love to go out, experience new things, very active lifestyle, and yeah, yeah, they kind of, you can see it in their moods and like one buddy told me like his relationships with people, and I think it goes back to being that dormant relationship. He
Hmm.
didn't see a lot of people he normally does, and yeah, yeah, I think that.
Yeah, it was a common theme, I think, for sure. So how about getting vaccines? Are you gonna get the vaccine? Are you registered?
I'm not registered. I'm not. I'm undecided yet on if
Yeah.
I should get it. Uh, at the moment, I don't feel like I need it. Right. I feel very healthy. I feel good.
Hmm.
I didn't get COVID, so I think I'm in the clear in the moment. But yeah, so I don't see myself getting it. But if it comes down to like, hey, I got COVID and it's a really severe case, I might die from it. Like it's a thing. Then yeah, of course I would consider it if it was one of my last options. Right? What could I do? So
What do you think of how like quickly the vaccine came out? How fast it came out?
the vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean,
What's your personal take on that?
I think it came out. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot. It's a lot deeper than
Mm.
what we know, right?
Yeah.
What we see on the media.
Yeah.
It just if there's nothing truly deeper than what we saw in the media, then I mean, it seems kind of premature to me, right? It seems like they told us they were working on a vaccine. Next, you know, it came out. So, I mean, yeah, yeah, I understand. There could be some other incentives behind it, but
Yeah. Okay.
you know,
So moving into like politics, how do you believe politics affected how COVID was handled or is being handled?
I'm not very political. I'm really not. I don't really talk politics because I just don't know much. I'd be just speaking out of thin air, quite
Okay.
frankly. So I mean yeah, I'm not very informed on that. So I'll pass on that one.
Okay. How about some work related challenges? How has COVID impacted your work?
Oh yeah, for sure. Just it was even this year. This year I just got a part-time serving job, and I have served for several years, right?
Hmm.
And just wearing that freaking mask all day, just um, it's not a bad thing. Just at first you started off the shift, but like as the day goes on, you're just like, oh man, I need to breathe a little bit. So yeah, I think that right there is it changed that. I couldn't really interact in the same way with my guests at the table, or I've noticed like when I go to the gyms, like personal trainers, they're kind of just sweating up a storm, just
Oh
like having that. Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's about it, really.
yeah. Okay. Did you lose work or did you receive a pay cut or were you furloughed during the pandemic year?
During what the pandemic, yeah, my work went down a lot. It did significantly, actually. It was really bad. Um, yeah, yeah. Well, my job just kind of something I worked at for quite a while, and just to see it kind of go down, like spiral down, just so quick out of nowhere, right? Just kind of, yeah, it sucked. It
Yeah.
sucked.
Yeah, for sure. So has the nature of finding like a typical 9 to 5 job changed for you?
For me, no, not necessarily. Not me. I feel like I have pretty good skill set. I get a job in different, like several different things, even if there was like a economy breaking down kind of stuff, high skill kind of thing. Um,
That's good.
so no, I guess not. It's just a matter of choosing what, right? I think that's a big question. What is it that you want to be doing?
Hmm.
So
Especially having so much time thinking about it this past.
yeah, yeah.
All right. So, do you have any new worries regarding you or any of your family members' documentation status during the pandemic year?
Documentation status.
Yeah.
Um, well, I guess the only thing I could think of is so my mother, she has a green card, right?
Hmm.
And it just happened so that was it earlier? No, the end of last year, the end of 2020, right? She had to renew her green card, and normally we would make the drive up all the way to Chicago and just handle it in person because my parents are like a little older, so they're not very tech savvy.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we could have done it online, it would have expired, and that wouldn't have been good.
Yeah.
So that for people out there that don't necessarily have someone that can maneuver around technology,
Okay. Yeah.
and
For sure.
yeah. So
Yeah, I can see how that could be a problem to a lot of older immigrants without like children that maybe speak English or.
yeah.
So, do you now or did you have concerns about finances?
I did not anymore now, not anymore.
Okay. How about spending money to like support your family? Like, did you have any troubles doing that or
No,
contributing?
no, I wouldn't say so, not at all. My family were pretty much made up of essential workers,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean they kind of always had a job throughout the whole thing, so
Okay.
no worries.
Okay. So, some last few questions. Did how, if at all, has the current social movement in conjunction with COVID-19 impacted your daily life?
What social movement or what
Yeah,
was it?
like the social movements that were going on last year, like either the BLM or the no masks or the non-vaccinators, pro-vaccinators, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, how did that affect my life? Is
Yeah.
that what you asked?
Yes.
Um, I mean, it didn't really affect my life. It just
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, no, not really.
Okay.
Just, if anything, it just kind of pointed out just like, problems that we're having that on a large scale that maybe are just not coming to surface.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Other than that, yeah, no. I mean, personally, yeah, no, I wasn't disturbed.
Okay.
So,
So, what was your perspective on going out back then and compared to now? Now that maybe COVID is slowing down in a way, in a sense.
so going out back then, it wasn't even a thought. Just like, all right, we're going there, and then we would go there, right? Just
Yeah.
go have a good time. Just nothing really like that of concerning. I'm gonna get sick or anything. Just yeah, just. But after COVID, yeah, you Jesus, you, you kind of just have it in the back of your mind, right? Just, oh man, I'm in a place with a lot of people. It's a thing now, and according to like the odds, someone here has it, right? If it's
Yeah.
very populated. So it's just a matter of like, oh man, um,
Thinking about it constantly, kind of thing.
yeah, just kind of like being more aware of it. Just like, oh gosh, this guy just coughed over here. I gotta get away. Just.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, as my last question, I always like to ask, is there anything else you would like to share with me about your experience with COVID-19 that I haven't asked you about?
um, no, I think it was a good. You asked good questions.
Okay. Well, Pat, I just want to thank you again for being a part of this project. We're very lucky to hear your story, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Iris.
Thank you very much.
Peace.